Hey guys, how you guys feeling today after an incredibly tragic event happened? Just waiting on Biden. He's typically late for everything. It's very like this administration. Anyways, we're waiting on Biden right now. I am live on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Let me know how you're feeling in the chats. Spam the chats below. Yeah, typically late for real. Every time I do this press conference for Biden, he's never not been late. Ever. I've never seen him on time. I'm more surprised that he didn't do this announcement at like 9 o'clock at night or something like that when everyone's home. It's always 5. It's always like in the afternoon for everyone else, so they don't catch it live. It's so weird. But we're waiting on him. Is it his age? I don't know. It might be his age for how early he talks to people. I think it just kind of shows you where his mind's at. I mean, if you're in power, you want to have an important address to do. You want to address the nation. You want to take time out of your day. You want to show your empathy. You want to show everything that's going on in your head. You want to do it in front of an audience. You want to do it in front of people. You don't want to just do it just to do it. And I feel like stuff like this is just to tick a box. And that's it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Seems his priorities and energy is scattered all. Yeah, it does. I mean, same with a lot of people in politics. I saw Nancy Pelosi putting out a statement today about all the great work they're doing. And I'm like, right now is not the time. I was gonna do a show today, but I just didn't because I don't know what to. I'm a loss for words right now. My heart goes out to the families that are impacted because that is just devastating. Biden should resign today. Should be definitely on the table. I don't think that'll ever happen. He'll probably see as his way to bring the nation together. I don't know. We'll see. My guess is he'll be about 30 minutes late. How are you guys feeling about the attacks today? To me, it seemed like it was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. It just made too much sense. You got a bunch of terrorists and you got a bunch of people sitting at a gate trying to get in. What's an easy way to make America look stupid? Just send a suicide bomb. It just made too much sense. I couldn't believe that this even got to this point. He gets grumpy when you wake him up too early from snaps. Yeah. Yeah. He does get grumpy. Oh no. My camera. Let me get a little refresh in there. There we go. I'm back. Froze me. Thanks a lot, Carissa. You froze me. If ISIS can penetrate highly secured Kabul airport, then what about scores of people in other... Yeah, I know. It literally made no sense to me. Is it a point of no return for them? I don't know. I mean, I've seen people thinking this is like all part of the plan, and it's like, this is how we're going to continue to fight in the region. There's a lot of emotion going on right now, a lot of anger and frustration, and I was hoping he would come on real quick because I don't have all day to sit here and wait for him. Also, can you have Joe Biden's week? Also, you have Joe Biden's week speech from yesterday. Yeah, I bet he emboldened an attack of it. Yeah, it was. Joe Biden has been 100% weak on this whole thing. I mean, he's slow to take questions. Even the thing about how many Americans are left in Afghanistan, the numbers have been thrown all over the place, almost to the point where it's like, just tell us you don't know, because you sure are acting like it. This administration, it cares more about other people than their own citizens. Knew this was going to happen. Yes, same with me, JR. It made 2 months sense. There was too many people in one area just sitting for days on end. And ISIS hates the Taliban, accused them of working with Americans. That place is going to turn into an all-out... Yeah, we are going to continue to see worse videos by the day. And it's going to be really sad to watch and really hard to watch. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the videos of the aftermath from the explosion, but they're devastating. Just seeing the bodies, and you can see children amongst them. I mean, I can't believe he's not on time. It's not like it's a crisis or anything, or people are like waiting to hear from you. Ugh. What is this stupid song? God. See, I'm going on the thought that Joe Biden's going to be 30 minutes late. Are there any way to disable the weapons left? I don't know. Remote disable? Maybe. Like some of the drones and stuff? I don't know. The easiest way would be just to bomb those areas. But, the whole leaving weapons there, it seems way too convenient. You would think that'd be something that they would do if it seems like it's part of a deal. It seems like we'll leave and we'll leave you weapons. There's no way we would just leave it. Also, they inherited a fleet of Blackhawks. Howitzers and small arms from the withdrawal, they would use it. Yeah. If they can fly the Blackhawks. But I know they have more Blackhawks than Australia, I've seen. I've seen videos of them trying to fly, so I don't have huge hope, but the fact that we left those... And again, I don't feel like we left them there. I think they were given. It's just way too convenient. That's way too much weapons to just accidentally leave some behind. Unless they're just all trash and we're just... Alright, this is way too exciting of a song. Alright, Joe Biden has 7 minutes to prove me right. 4 C-17. The C-17s. This organization, it just shows you the leadership we have in Washington. It's what happens when you don't hire the best and brightest, and how deep the state goes. It's our intelligence. It's either they totally effed this up or it was all a plan. It can't be just anything else. As always, it's just a reminder, do not put your hope in politics, or politicians especially. Don't expect them to be these stand-up human beings. Vote for people based on their policies they push, not that they're a moral stand-up human beings. I'm going with 45 minutes to an hour late. Place your bets. Yeah, I did 30 minutes, so... Yeah. I don't know. It's looking more like you might be right. I mean, I've been looking online, and people are still saying just 5 o'clock. Obviously, it's not going to be 5 o'clock, though. Let's be real about that. It's way past 5 o'clock. This is my give me some of your predictions of what he's going to say. My prediction is that he will say this isn't the Taliban's fault. He will continue to talk about, well, we had to withdraw no matter what, because the only other choice was war. And then they were going to go after whoever did this through airstrikes or something. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts. What are your predictions? What he's going to say? I'm curious. There are reports right now saying that Jen Psaki is going to brief reporters at 5:45 p.m. after Biden's speech, which kind of tells you he's... Oh, there we go.
A tough day. This evening in Kabul, as you all know, terrorists attacked that we've been talking about and worried about, that the intelligence community has assessed, has undertaken an attack by a group known as ISIS-K. Took the lives of American service members standing guard at the airport and wounded several others seriously. He had also wounded a number of civilians, and civilians were killed as well. I've been engaged all day in constant contact with the military commanders here in Washington and the Pentagon, as well as in Afghanistan and Doha. And my commanders here in Washington in the field have been on this with great detail, and you've had a chance to speak to some so far. The situation on the ground is still evolving, and I'm constantly being updated. These American service members who gave their lives, it's an overused word, but it's totally appropriate here, were heroes. Heroes who've been engaged in a dangerous, selfless mission to save the lives of others. They're a part of an airlift, an evacuation effort unlike any seen in history, with more than 100,000 American citizens, American partners, Afghans who helped us, and others taken to safety in the last 11 days. Just in the last 12 hours or so, another 7,000 have gotten out. They were part of the bravest, most capable, the most selfless military on the face of the earth. And they're part of simply what I call the backbone of America. They're the spine of America, the best the country has to offer. Jill and I Our hearts ache, like I'm sure all of you do as well, for all those Afghan families who lost loved ones, including small children, or been wounded in this vicious attack. And we're outraged as well as heartbroken. Being the father of an Army major who served for a year in Iraq, and before that was in Kosovo as a U.S. attorney for the better part of 6 months in the middle of a war. When he came home after a year in Iraq, he was diagnosed, like many, many coming home, with an aggressive and lethal cancer of the brain. We lost. We have some sense, like many of you do, what the families of these brave heroes are feeling today. You get this feeling like you're being sucked into a black hole in the middle of your chest. There's no way out. My heart aches for you. But I know this. We have a continuing obligation, a sacred obligation to all of you, families of those heroes. That obligation is not temporary, it lasts forever. The lives we lost today were lives given in the service of liberty, the service of security, the service of others, in the service of America. Like their fellow brothers and sisters in arms who died defending our vision and our values in the struggle against terrorism, of the fallen this day, they're part of a great and noble company of American heroes. To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
I called that one. That's one.
I will defend our interests and our people with every measure at my command. Over the past few weeks, I know many of you are probably tired of hearing me say it, we've been made aware by our intelligence community that the ISIS-K, an arch enemy of the Taliban, people who were freed when both those prisons were opened, has been planning a complex set of attacks on the United States personnel and others. This is why, from the outset, I've repeatedly said this mission was extraordinarily dangerous, and why I've been so determined to limit the duration of this mission. As General McKenzie said, this is why our mission was designed, this is the way it was designed to operate under severe stress and attack. We've known that from the beginning. And as I've been in constant contact with our senior military leaders, and I mean constant, round the clock, and our commanders on the ground throughout the day, they made it clear that we can and we must complete this mission, and we will. And that's what I've ordered them to do. We will not be deterred by terrorists. We will not let them stop our mission. We will continue the evacuation. I've also ordered my commanders to develop operational plans to strike ISIS-K assets, leadership, and facilities. We will respond with force and precision at our time, at the place we choose, in a moment of our choosing. Here's what you need to know. These ISIS terrorists will not win. We will rescue the Americans in there. We will get our Afghan allies out, and our mission will go on. America will not be intimidated, and I have the utmost confidence in our brave service members who continue to execute this mission with courage and honor to save lives and get Americans, our partners, our Afghan allies out of Afghanistan. Every day when I talk to our commanders, I ask them what they need. What more do they need, if anything, to get the job done? As they will tell you, I granted every request. I reiterated to them today on 3 occasions that they should take the maximum steps necessary to protect our forces on the ground in Kabul. And I also want to thank the Secretary of Defense and the military leadership of the Pentagon and all the commanders in the field. There has been complete unanimity from every commander on the objectives of this mission and the best way to achieve those objectives. Those who have served through the ages have drawn inspiration from the book of Isaiah, when the Lord says, "Whom shall I send? Who shall go for us?" The American military has been answering for a long time. "Here I am, Lord, send me. Here I am, send me." Each one of these women and men of our armed forces are the heirs of that tradition of sacrifice, of volunteering to go in harm's way, to risk everything, not for glory, not for profit, but to defend what we love and the people we love. And I ask that you join me now in a moment of silence for all those in uniform and out of uniform, military and civilian, who have given the last full measure of devotion. Thank you. May God bless you all, and may God protect the troops and all those standing watch for America. We have so much
Is this it?
to do. It's within our capacity to do it. We just have to remain steadfast.
Don't tell me this is it.
Steadfast. We will complete our mission, and we will continue after our troops have withdrawn to find means by which we can find any American who wishes to get out of Afghanistan.
Yeah, you went back to
We
the
will
script.
find them, and we will get them out. Ladies and gentlemen, they gave me a list here. The first person I was instructed to call on was Kelly O'Donnell of NBC.
That was it? That was the whole speech?
You have said leaving Afghanistan is in the national interest of the United States. After today's attack, do you believe you will authorize additional forces to respond to that attack inside Afghanistan? And are you prepared to add additional forces to protect those Americans who remain on the ground carrying out the evacuation operation?
I've instructed the military, whatever they need, if they need additional force, I will grant it.
Oh, now we're doing it.
But the
Now.
military, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, commanders in the field, have all contacted me one way or another, usually by letter, saying they subscribe to the mission as designed to get as many people out as we can within the time frame that is allotted. That is the best way they
100%
believe
arranged.
to get as many
That was such
Americans
he already
out as
answered that
possible
question.
and others. And with regard to finding, tracking down the ISIS leaders who ordered this,
They'll say we're working with Taliban.
we have
Say
some
it.
reason to believe we know who they are,
Say it.
not certain. And we will find ways of our choosing without large military operations to get them
Drone strikes.
wherever they are. Trevor, Reuters.
Tough Joe Biden just came out.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's been some criticism, even from people in your party, about the dependence on the Taliban to secure the perimeter of the airport. Do you feel like there was a mistake made in that regard?
No, I don't. Look, I think General McKenzie handled this question very well. The fact is that we're in a situation, we inherited a situation, particularly since, as we all know, that the Afghan military collapsed 11 days before, in 11 days, that it is
Yeah, he was
in
an
the
idiot.
interest of, as
Him in the
Mackenzie
Senate
said,
was terrible.
in the interest of the Taliban, that in fact ISIS-K does not metastasize beyond what it is, number one. And number two, it's in their interest that we are able to leave on time, on target. And as a consequence of that, the major things we've asked them, moving back the perimeter, giving more space between the wall, stopping vehicles from coming through, et cetera, searching
Incredible.
people coming through. It is not what you'd call a tightly commanded, regimented operation like the U.S. is, the military is, but they're acting in their interest. And so, by and large, and I've asked the same question to military on the ground, whether or not it's a useful exercise. No one trusts them. We're just counting on their self-interest to continue to generate their activities. And it's in their self-interest that we leave when we said, and that we get as many people out as we can. Like I said, even in the midst of everything that happened today, over 7,000 people we've gotten out, over 5,000 Americans over. So it's not a matter of trust, it's a matter of mutual self-interest. And, but there is no evidence thus far that I've been given as a consequence by any of our commanders in the field that there has been collusion between the Taliban and ISIS carrying out what happened today.
There it is. I
at the
told you he
Trump
would back
Hotel
them up.
And what is expected to
I knew you
continue
would say something like that.
for beyond.
We're trusting the
today.
Taliban.
Amir, Associated
Come
Press.
on, man.
Thank you, Mr. President. You have spoken
These people are
again
scared to ask
powerfully
questions.
about your own son and the weight of these decisions.
So you put it back on himself.
With that in mind, and also what you've said, that the
not
longer
how
we
empathy
stay,
works.
the more likelihood that there would be a major attack. How do you weigh staying even one more day, considering what's happened?
God, his voice is
Because I
cracking.
think what America says matters. What we say we're going to do in the
Jeez.
context in which we say we're going to do it, that we do it,
He's going to get ripped for that
unless
question
something
statement.
exceptional changes. There are additional American citizens.
We
There
don't
are
know the
additional
number.
green card holders. There are additional personnel of our allies. There are additional SIV card holders. There are additional Afghans that have helped us. And there are additional groups of individuals that have been contacted us, from women's groups to NGOs and others, who have expressly indicated they want to get out and have gathered in certain circumstances in groups, on buses and other means. That still presents the opportunity for in the next several days, between now and the 31st, to be able to get them out. And our military, and I believe, to the extent that we can do that, knowing the threat, knowing that we may very well have another attack, the military
Can't
has
imagine
concluded
why.
that's what we should do. I think they're right. I think they're
Genius.
correct.
Genius.
And after that, we're going to be in a circumstance where will be, I believe, numerous opportunities to continue to provide access for additional persons to get out of Afghanistan, either through means that we provide and/or are provided through in cooperation with the Taliban. They're not good guys, the
Good
Taliban.
Lord.
I'm not suggesting that at all.
It took like an hour to
But
answer
they
that question.
have keen interest. As many of you have been reporting, they very much would like to figure out how to keep the airport open. They don't have the capacity to do it. They very much are trying
They
to
just blew
figure
up
out
an amusement park. Why would they
whether
keep
or
an
not
airport?
They can maintain what is the portion of an economy that has become not robust, but fundamentally different than it had been. And so there's a lot of reasons why they have reached out, not just to us, but to others, as to why it would be continued in their interest to get more of the personnel we want to get out. We can locate them. Now, there's not many left that we can assess that want to come out. There's some Americans we've identified, we've contacted the vast majority of them, if not all of them, who don't want to leave.
I don't believe
Because
that.
they're dual nationals,
I
they have
don't
extended
believe that.
families, et
I
cetera.
do not believe that.
And there's others who are looking for the time. So
They're going to figure out if they want to
That's
be around
why
for
we
Taliban
continue.
and ISIS.
I'll take
They're
a
gonna
few
figure
more
it out.
questions, but
Or
you,
the
sir,
suicide bomb was a good idea.
I wanted to
you,
ask
but
you,
that's okay.
He's
you
laughing.
say that what America
There
says
he is.
matters.
There's
What do you
the
say to
empathetic
the
Joe.
Afghans who helped troops who may not be able to get out by August 31st?
I
What-
say we're
what do
going
you
to
say to them?
continue to try to get you out. It matters. Look, I know of no conflict, as a student of history, no conflict where when a war was ending, one side was able to guarantee that everyone they wanted to be extracted from that country would get out. And think about it, folks. I think it's important. I know the American people get this in their gut.
Yeah, he tried his hardest, okay, guys?
There are, I would argue,
Oh, he's closing the book.
of Afghani citizens
Billions.
who are not Taliban, who did not actively cooperate with us as SIVs, who, if given a chance, they'd be on board a plane tomorrow. It sounds ridiculous, but the vast majority of people in communities like that want to come to America, given a choice. So getting every single person out can't be guaranteed by anybody because there's a determination all who wants to get out as well. At any
Right.
rate, it's
Just
a
go to
process.
Mexico,
I
go
was
across the
really
border.
pointing to you, but you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are reports that U.S. officials provided the Taliban with names of Americans and Afghan officials to evacuate. Were you aware of that? Did that happen? And then, sir, did you personally
question.
reject a recommendation to hold or to recapture Bagram Air Force Base?
Here's what I've done let's answer the last question first. On the tactical questions of how to conduct an evacuation or a war, I gather up all the major military personnel that are in Afghanistan, the commanders, as well as the Pentagon. And I ask for their best military judgment. What would be the most efficient way to accomplish the mission? They concluded, the military, that Bagram was not much value added, that it was much wiser to focus on Kabul. And so I followed that recommendation. With regard to, there are certain circumstances where we've gotten information, and quite frankly, sometimes from some of you, saying you know of such and such a group of people are trying to get out, they're on a bus, they're moving from other people. And this is their location. And there have been occasions when our military has contacted their military counterparts in the Taliban and said, this, for example, this bus is coming through with X number of people on it. made up of following group of people. We want you to let that bus or that group through. So yes, there have been occasions like that. And to the best of my knowledge, in those cases, the bulk of that has occurred, they've been let through. But I can't tell you with any certitude that there's actually been a list of names. I know there may have been, but I know of no circumstance. It doesn't mean it didn't exist. That
So he doesn't
here's
know.
the names of 12 people, they're coming, let them through. It could very well have happened. I'll take one
This
more
organization, this administration is
question.
organized.
Wait. Let me take the one question from the most interesting guy that I know in the press.
Oh my gosh.
That's you.
Mr. President, there had not been a U.S. service member killed in combat in Afghanistan since February of 2020. You set a deadline, you pulled troops out, you sent troops back in, and now 12 Marines are dead. You said the buck stops with you. Do you bear any responsibility for the way that things have unfolded in the last 2 weeks?
Shout out to
I bear
Peter.
responsibility for fundamentally all that's happened of late. But here's the deal. You know, I wish you'd one day say these things. You know as well as I do that the former president made a deal with the Taliban that he would get all American forces out of Afghanistan by May 1. In return, the commitment was made, and that was a year before. In return, he was given a commitment that the Taliban would continue to attack others, but would not attack any American forces. Remember that? I'm being serious. No, I'm asking you a question. Because before... No, wait a minute. I'm asking you a question. Is that accurate?
Getting off script.
What?
I don't think it's the issue that, do you think that people have an issue with pulling out of Afghanistan or just the way that things have happened?
I think they have an issue that people are likely to get hurt. Some, as we've seen, have gotten killed, and that it is messy. The reason why, whether my friend will acknowledge it or has reported it, the reason why there were no attacks on Americans, as you said, from the date until I came into office, was because the commitment was made by President Trump. I will be out by May 1st.
Here we go.
In the
Talk
meantime,
about Trump.
you agree not to attack any Americans. That was the deal. That's why no American was attacked.
A few days ago, you said you squarely stand by your decision to pull out.
Yes, I do, because look at it this way, folks, and I have another meeting for real. But
For real.
imagine where we'd be if I had indicated on May the 1st I was not going to renegotiate an evacuation date. We were going to stay there. I'd have only one alternative: pour thousands of more troops back into Afghanistan to fight a war that we had already won relative to why the reason we went in the first place. I have never been of the view that we should be sacrificing American lives to try to establish a democratic government in Afghanistan, a country that has never once in its entire history been a united country and is made up, I don't mean this in a derogatory, made up of different tribes who have never, ever, ever gotten along with one another. And so, as I said before, and this is the last comment I'll make, we'll have more chance to talk about this, unfortunately, beyond, because we're not out yet. If Osama bin Laden, as well as al-Qaeda, had chosen to launch an attack when they left Saudi Arabia out of Yemen, would we have ever gone to Afghanistan? Even though the Taliban completely controlled Afghanistan at the time, would we have ever gone? I know it's not fair to ask you questions, it's rhetorical, but Raise your hand if you think we should have gone.
What is going on right now?
Given up thousands of lives and tens of thousands of wounded. Our interest in going was to prevent al-Qaeda from reemerging, first to get bin Laden, wipe out al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, prevent that from happening again. As I've said 100 times, terrorism is metastasized around the world. We have greater threats coming out of other countries, a heck of a lot closer to the United States. We don't have military encampments there. We don't keep people there. We have over-the-horizon capability to keep them from going after us. Ladies and gentlemen, it was time to end a 20-year war. Thank you so much.
Told you he would say that at the end. I knew he would say that. I can't stand that they scream questions like that. Like he's gonna. All right, let's go to Jen. Let's just go to Jen. I'm gonna keep the stream going. Let's go to Jen and see what's going on. Dude, Feckless. That guy is a joke. I say this all the time. This is what happens when you vote for somebody against somebody rather than for someone. This is what you get. You get crap. It's just, this leadership is just so crap.
Come on, man.
Sorry, you're right. All right, let's see. Jen will come soon. I mean, she better. What do you guys think of what Biden just said? What are your thoughts? My son is a Marine. He's 21 years old. He deserves a strong leader. Yeah, he does. He does deserve a strong leader. It's incredibly unfortunate that he doesn't have it. I mean, yeah, just tough, man. What a horrible day. And to have A, somebody shows up 30 minutes late, which I called. And B, that speech was so quick and it made no sense in some areas. And then those questions, I don't know. Get a new speechwriter. Nixon resigned over, yeah. I know I saw Josh Hawley pushing for his resignation. I don't know. Could you imagine Kamala Harris in this moment? Jeez. I don't know what's worse. I honestly don't know what's worse. All right, I'm going to use the restroom. I'll be right back. I'll keep it going. No dropping Biden. Just taking the Bidens to the pool. I thought this would go like right back to back. We'll see. Also, make sure to China must be seriously thinking about making a move. Yeah, I don't see why China wouldn't make a move on Taiwan at the moment. I honestly don't see why not. Well, I mean, what's stopping them? Just mobilizing? PR? They've already made warnings, lots of warnings. And we're in debacle, and we are run by a guy who refuses to address the nation at a decent time. He should have addressed the nation at like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night on the East Coast time. If I was a leader, it would. I feel like this situation is that serious that why would you not address the nation? Any news on the third bombing? I heard the third bombing was a contained explosion. I got nothing after that speech. I want the last hour of my life back. Have a good day. Hey, see you later. I don't blame you. If this doesn't start soon, then I'm gonna go too. But I thought this would be like back to back. I don't trust these people and starting on time ever. Anybody else have any thoughts on that speech? Anything else going on in the news? Oh. What was that? Just a glitch? See if there's anything going on in the news. What do you guys think about Biden quoting Isaiah? It always weirds me out when like presidents like try to like lean on the Christian thing and you're like, I don't feel like you're this like Christian spokesman. What are you doing? I did like how he talked about the previous administration because you have to. All right, look at this. This is crazy. Let's see. All right, check this out. This is outside the White House right now. Wait. It's like, nope. Not gonna do it. Not gonna wait. Wait, let's see it again. That just happened. I don't know why this is breaking news, but I love it. Just thought I should share that with you guys. Him and Hunter are going to church. Yeah. Him and Hunter Biden are definitely going to church together. Department and the ridiculous red tape. These people need to out in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. I wish. See if anything else new. Taliban spokesperson said several explosions have been heard tonight in Kabul. They were controlled detonations carried out by United States troops who are destroying their assets at Kabul airport, according to ISIS spokesperson. Destroying their assets. Like what we should have done before we left all those weapons? I love how Joe Biden said we're gonna like go after all that's involved. You guys think that means we're gonna go back to war? I wonder. I'm gonna give one more minute. She doesn't show up. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream. If you're new here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. 405. Come on. I believe in you. I wonder if anything else is going on. See, I don't understand the whole list of American citizens, green card holders, and Afghan allies that they were given. And Biden didn't really address that. He said that he didn't know about the list. And so the whole idea of giving somebody a list that they're hunting down these people anyways, why would you do that? Oh, so Biden's going after himself and the rest of the zoo crew? War with Iran? Oh, my God. I mean, I feel like we've been talking about war with Iran for years now. I know a lot of Europeans are not happy with us right now about the whole Afghan situation. I think our foreign diplomacy is a bit done with at the moment. I also hear that we're evacuating ahead of schedule. I heard that's in the next 24 hours we'll be done. I don't know what it's going to look like now. Jen is waiting for her Xanax to kick in. Do you blame her, though? I mean, I don't like Jen as much as the next person, but God, can you imagine being the spokesperson for this debacle? Oh, here we go. Look at Peter. He's standing.
You might have just heard we have a 2-minute warning to the press briefing, but I will add.
Peter, sit down, Peter. Peter, sit down. Peter. Peter Deuce. Peter, sit down, Peter.
Come on, man.
Sit down.
All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
Did you see Trudeau get chased down by... I did see that. Canada is lost, man. We should invade them to free them. Biden knows how to warm up the crowd for sure. Yeah, I feel so jacked up and energized right now. He definitely warmed up the people that didn't feel like they got a voice. I like that he said that Peter is his favorite journalist. He's like, yeah, you know what I'm talking. I'm talking to you. You're the one that always like comes after me. As well as they should be, this is not just affecting American citizens. They are people from all around the world. Yeah. Lots of people stranded, but it seems like other countries went after their civilians better than we did. I'm not sure. What's going on here? It's like a secret meeting of the minds. Two best friends that anyone could have. Just two guys hanging out. This friendship right here is fire. All right.
Good evening, everyone.
Here comes Jen.
I know you all have heard from General McKenzie today, as well
We'll
as
see
the
if it's
President,
trucker strike.
but obviously I wanted to provide the opportunity to answer additional questions from all of you. Just one thing to note at the top, as a mark for respect, starting today, the United States flag will be flown at half-staff at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds, at all military posts and naval stations, and on all naval vessels of the federal government in the District of Columbia and throughout the United States and its territories, and possessions until sunset on August 30th, 2021, in honor of the victims of the senseless acts of violence in Kabul, Afghanistan. With that, Amr.
Thanks. Just a few minutes ago, one of my colleagues asked a question about what the president would say to Afghans who fear they won't get to leave. The president said getting every single person out can't be guaranteed of anybody. Was he lowering expectations for
Of course he was.
smaller but still significant population that's trying to get out, that's still there?
That wasn't his intention, Amr. I think what he was conveying is that at a time where the Taliban is taking over the country, certainly not our preference, as you all know well, it is not going to be possible for every single Afghan, millions potentially, who want to leave Afghanistan to be evacuated. At the same time, I think you also heard the president make clear that there is not an end to our commitment to getting American citizens out, who are not ready to leave, and to getting partners out and those who have served alongside the United States over the last 20 years.
And just real quick, on the Taliban, they are in charge of the perimeter. For the suicide bomber to get in, they would presumably have to get beyond a Taliban guard. So why isn't the Taliban in part responsible for what happened today?
Well, I think General McKenzie addressed this earlier this afternoon, and he made clear, and I understand your question is slightly different from that, but I think it's worth repeating and important to repeat, that we don't have any information at this point in time, and that has not changed over the last couple of hours to suggest that the Taliban had knowledge of or was engaged in or involved in this attack. Obviously, what happened today and the loss of lives of U.S. service members, of Afghans, is a tragedy, is horrific, is one of the worst things, if not the worst thing we've experienced during President Biden's time in office. But again, we don't have any additional assessment at this point in time. Go ahead.
Just a few things, Jen, to clarify. Thank you. He talked about the ongoing mission to get people out after the 31st. But to be clear, as of tonight, is it still the plan to get all U.S. forces out by August 31st?
Nothing has changed on that timeline.
Okay. Did the president, based on his public comments over the last few days, did the president see this coming?
Well, I think what you have seen the president say, and many members of our military and our national security team say, is that we have been closely watching and assessing the threat of ISIS-K, and that we have had increasing concern about that threat growing over the last couple of days. So this has been a concern that we have been watching, and we saw, of course, the tragic events happen today.
And what does today's attack say about
they're all terrorists.
the
That's why I
U.S.'s
don't
ability
understand.
to keep the terrorist threat in
We're
check
pretending like the Taliban is
once
like
the U.S. pulls off
NGI.
military forces out of Afghanistan? Because this is something he talked about in early
Yes.
July when he reiterated what the plan was.
You're right, and I appreciate that question. I think it's important for people to know and understand that the threat that is posed by having thousands of U.S. military on the ground, still currently on the ground, implementing a mission, committed to a mission, as you heard General McKenzie and the President also say, that is a threat. They are a target. People gathering around the airport.
So why did we do that then?
ISIS's ability to target individuals who are on the ground in Afghanistan is very different from ISIS's ability to attack the United States and attack the homeland.
Unless they got on board.
Over the horizon capacity with presence and partnership with countries in the region to ensure that they don't develop that ability.
Do you know yet if he would go to Dover to greet the caskets of those that were killed?
I'm certain the President will do everything he can to honor the sacrifice and the service of the lives who were lost today. I will note you didn't ask this question, but some others have asked it, and he didn't have the opportunity to ask it. So let me provide or answer it to provide you an update on. I know some have asked about whether he's called the family members, and for those of you who have covered this, you know the process. But for those of you who have not, or people who are watching at home, the process would first go through the Pentagon. There is a next of kin notification.
Can you imagine having Joe Biden call you to offer condolences? I mean, seriously, is that something that sounds like a good idea?
Call, because that's the first step in the process. And then in terms of additional steps such as Dover, of course, he would consider and want to be a part of any means of honoring the lives that were lost today. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. General McKenzie described this, one of the explosions at the Abbey Gate happening at a point after someone had been searched by the Taliban. How is the United States still going to work with the Taliban the way that the president is describing, or just did in his remarks, to get American citizens and Afghan allies out if that is what we're working with?
Look, I'm not trying to sugarcoat what we think of the Taliban. The Taliban they're not a group we trust. They are not our friends. We have never said that. It is also the reality that the Taliban controls large swaths of Afghanistan. And to date, because of coordination with the Taliban, we've been able to evacuate more than 104,000 people, save 104,000 lives. And that coordination is necessary in order to continue our evacuation measures. Now, I understand your question, Peter, and the questions of others on what they knew or what their role was. There's no assessment we have at this point in time of their involvement in this. Obviously, that's at this time. If that changes, we will let you all know.
And does the president really think that they are going to be reliable partners if we're already getting reports that they're not letting Afghans to the airport, and the U.S. is still at the airport?
We're not getting those reports.
Well, I think you mean after the 31st or moving over the next couple of days?
Right now.
We've heard that it's already happening, so does he think that's going to get
Well,
better?
I'd note also that, as the president just said, more than 7,000 people have been evacuated over the course of the last 12 hours.
Yeah,
that
but
is
there's people
while there
that
was
aren't
an
being
active
evacuated.
attacks that were happening. Those are individuals who were let through gates, who were let onto planes, and got us well over 100,000 people who have been evacuated. Again, this is not about trust. This is not about relying on the Taliban as an equal partner. No one is suggesting that. But because they control large swaths of the country, including a lot of the security perimeters around the airport, we have to coordinate with them in order to get people out. We'll continue to do that. Go ahead. But so one more thing I would say is that we have an enormous amount of leverage. This is our view. Over time. That includes economic leverage. It includes leverage that we will make clear to the Taliban as it relates to coordination, continue to get American citizens and our partners out. Go ahead.
Jen, there have been reports of explosions happening throughout the afternoon in Kabul, or evening now.
It's a real shame.
And some reporting to indicate that this is the beginning of a process of the U.S. military beginning.
What do you mean by your question? I'm confused. Sorry.
You confirm that that's what's taking place?
I would refer you to the U.S. military on specific steps of their retrograde process, which, as we know, would have to take place in advance of a departure.
And then in terms of what we've heard from the Pentagon, and then the president just articulated, which is his confidence that they have enough troops on the ground at this point to continue to facilitate the mission. I guess the question is, how can that be the case given what we saw today, the tragic loss of life? Doesn't that call for additional troop levels potentially needed, reinforcements needed on the ground? And additionally, what is the concern for the ongoing threat that ISIS-K continues to pose to these efforts?
There is an ongoing threat. And every day that our troops are on the ground, they are at risk. And that's a reality. And as you saw the Pentagon brief out earlier today, these were attacks.
Miles, if I go on CNN, MSNBC constantly, they are talking about unvaccinated people dying and COVID and masks and promoting vaccinations while this was all happening. This is a side note to them.
Conclude. Is there anything else you need to conclude your mission? Do you need equipment? Do you need troops? Do you need resources? He's asked them that again today as it relates to completing their mission over the next coming days and going after the individuals, the terrorists who killed service members today as well. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. You just noted you were in some of these meetings today. Was there ever a point where the president was reconsidering this deadline of having all U.S. forces out by August 31st?
No, and here's why. The president relies on the advice of his military commanders, and they continue to believe that it is essential to get out by the 31st. That is their advice. And there are several reasons for that. One is the ongoing threats. And the second is that we want to be able to have the ability to get individuals out who have been partners of ours after the 31st. And they believe the best way to do that is to stay on that timeline at this point in time.
And does the White House still anticipate that those flights of mass evacuations will end before the actual 31st?
I'm not going to get into an operational timeline of when the last evacuation flight will be, and I don't expect the Department of Defense will do that either. We will let you know, as we have twice a day, as we have updated numbers.
One more
that
question.
it'll
Is
stop.
there an alternative plan being discussed for how to get these people who are seeking to leave to the airport, given it is potentially perilous to go and wait outside the gates right now to get in?
There are a range of operations and operational approaches that our commanders and military on the ground have been utilizing over the course of several days, if not more. I'm not going to outline those from here, but that is why they're in touch with American citizens, why they're in touch with partners we're working to evacuate, to get them safely to the airport and evacuated at the appropriate time. Go ahead.
Is it your opinion that the president has the authority he needs from Congress or wherever else to continue operations beyond August 31st? He kind of talked about pursuing ISIS-K wherever, whenever he needs to.
Drone strikes.
Is there any expectation
Just like
that there'll be
Obama.
any additional authority to do so?
I don't believe there's an expectation
George
of
Bush.
additional authority needed.
It'll happen.
What about for military commanders on the ground? Will they need to come back in order to conduct counterterrorism operations, in order to do anything of the sort?
Well, again, as the president just said in his remarks a
Drone
little
strikes.
while ago, he's asked them to draw up plans. The president was, I don't think he could have been more clear about the fact that he believes we will not forgive, we will not forget, and we will hunt down these terrorists and kill them wherever they are. He's asked them to draw up plans. Whatever they need for those plans, he is committed to delivering on, but I don't have anything to outline for you today on that.
And is it possible to do that with no military troops, no military bases in the surrounding countries around Afghanistan?
Again, I would note for you, Trevor, as you know, you've covered these issues quite closely. We have a range of counterterrorism capacities in a number of countries around the world where we don't have military bases. Obviously, I'm not going to outline what their approach would be from the military. I will leave that to them to take and leave it to them to outline anything on their timeline. Go ahead.
Jen, you mentioned about the increasing concerns about this terror threat. The president just 2 days ago said each day of operations brings added risk to our troops. Today we saw the deadly consequences of that. If the risk grows tomorrow and keeps growing the next day and beyond that, how should Americans feel about this operation continuing right now for the coming days?
Well, I would say first, you heard General McKenzie convey clearly that they had every intention of continuing this evacuation mission over the coming days, and that they plan for incidents of these kind, to the degree that they can. They have every intention to continue. The president has regular consultations every day, multiple times a day on days like this, about how they see the circumstance on the ground. But that is our expectation at this point in time, that it will absolutely continue over the coming days.
And can you give us some details about how the president spent his day? He was scheduled to get briefed in the 9 o'clock hour by his national security team, and that's when the first reports were coming in.
Just to get his ice cream.
Walk us through what he did over those coming hours, just some color behind the scenes today.
From redhead to redhead.
For people who are watching, color means additional details of what he was up to. I will say, Karen, that the initial reports of the attacks came in as members of his national security team were gathering in the Situation Room for a regular meeting with the president. So they were just gathering and sitting down. So those and gathering in the room, those initial reports came in at that time. As the president arrived in the Situation Room, one of the first updates he received, of course, was about the attacks on the ground in Kabul. This was a developing situation, as it has been through the course of the day, and through the course of his briefing with his national security team this morning. His commanders on the ground also and in the region gave regular updates as they learned more information. Once he left the Situation Room, those updates proceeded through the course of the day. He's been in constant contact with his national security advisor, his Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and military commanders, both here and in the region, throughout the course of the day, receiving updates on what's happening on the ground.
Was there ever a second meeting of that entire national security team with the president in the sit room again?
No, this was just regular ongoing contact with members of his national security team through the course of the day.
Just to clarify, since you said you were with him, how was he? How was his mood? How was he in dealing with with the incoming information? How was he in asking the questions of military commanders and such?
Well, I would say that anyone who's watched the president up close, which is most of you, knows that the putting the lives of servicemen and women at risk and those decisions that you have to make as commander-in-chief weigh heavily on him. And as I noted a few minutes ago, any day where you lose service members is maybe the worst day of your presidency, and hopefully there's not more. But we are certainly early in the presidency at this point in time. So I would say,
that's
he
why
was
it's so
somber,
crazy.
and as he said today, outraged at
When you start
these
my
terrorists taking the lives of service members, and he wanted to make clear to the public he wanted to have all the.
Hey, Miles, I appreciate that so much. I started my channel a year and a half ago. That's just a slow grind. Please check out my videos and subscribe. I appreciate it. And would love any information. You can always email me at the DerekO'SheaShow@gmail.com.
That it is now 13 U.S. service members who have died.
I would leave that to the Department of Defense to confirm any additional casualties. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. You talked about the ongoing threats earlier. We heard from General McKenzie talking about, this quote, extremely active threat streams. But how would you sum up right now the level of confidence that the administration has that there won't be another attack like this before the completion of this evacuation mission?
I can't give you that assessment. As I think our national security team has said, members of our national security team, these are ongoing threats. We are watching them closely, but I can't give you that assessment from here. Go ahead.
Can you speak a little bit to what the impact on flights has been? You've been touting U.S. and coalition flights, but this attack has slowed some of those flights from coalition.
Yeah, I am on BitChute. I am on Rumble. Odyssey, I don't know much about. YouTube is terrible. I've already had a strike and a warning. One more. So it's only a matter of time. So make sure to follow me on BitChute and Rumble as well. Rumble, I'm slowly growing, but it's definitely a grind. And I wish I could go live for free on Rumble, but they charge you like $100 or $25 or some month. I don't have that right now. I'm paying for it in my podcast. I also do audio podcasts. I'm also on Instagram, on Twitter, and TikTok, and I don't know. I'm everywhere.
I don't want to give you a prediction because our U.S. military is incredible, and they are working even while they are facing these security threats to continue the evacuation mission.
What you believe to be the case at the airport now, I suppose, not particularly at this hour, given what would be there. Can Americans go? Should Americans go? Are Afghan SIVs getting through Taliban checkpoints and to the airport? Are you still discouraging them from doing that? What is the situation on the ground in that perimeter?
Again, Josh, I would say that we are giving very specific direction to individuals, American citizens and others, on when they should come to the airport, where they should meet, how they should come to the airport. We're obviously not going to outline or detail those from here or in any public manner, but that is certainly the direction we would be giving to people, to pay attention to the security alerts and to pay attention to notifications and contacts they're receiving from us or coalition partners.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, there were warnings that led up to this attack. Other countries have been warning, the administration has been warning this is a dangerous situation, etc. Can you speak to whether there was specific indications that this was being planned, and if so, do you have specific indications that other ones are being planned now?
I'm not going to get into specific intelligence, but I will tell you and confirm for you that the threat is ongoing.
Reiterate is the word you're looking for.
And we are continuing to watch and assess the threat. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. President Biden has spoken a lot about the need to end the forever wars. How do you end the forever wars in Afghanistan if you are still, or if the United States is still continuing to attack ISIS-K?
Well, first I would say this is a specific case today where 12 individual service members and 15 who were wounded today. And certainly I would expect any president of the United States would be clear that he will avenge those deaths and the acts of terrorists. And I don't think that came as a surprise to anyone. But the president stands by, as he outlined to all of you just in the last hour, his commitment to bringing an end to this war, as he has implemented over the course of the last month. And what we're talking about here is avenging these deaths from terrorists. We're not talking about sending tens of thousands of troops back for an endless war that we've been fighting for 20 years.
If I may ask a bit of a related question to Josh. When the Obama administration was bringing in Syrian refugees, there was a lot of pushback from various states and locales about refugees coming into their communities. How do you see that situation this time around? Is this going to be different, or do you anticipate those same kind of pushback and hard feelings?
Yeah, let's talk about a hypothetical.
But I will tell you that what we have been working to do is to work closely with governors, with localities, with local leaders to give them detailed briefings on what our vetting process.
Kevin, you think that he's not going to revenge? I think he's going to send drone strikes like crazy. I can see it. You just wait. They love some drone strikes.
And step on U.S. soil. We also know that there are some people in this country, even some in Congress, who may not want to have people from another country.
Oh, okay, because they're big racist? What a stupid question. Stupid answer. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. It's not because they're worried about, maybe these refugees or Taliban or ISIS. They're just racist.
Not back away from that. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. There is an American that's been detained by the Taliban since last year. His name's Mark Freericks.
I hope not, Kevin.
I
hope not, my guy.
To release
that
him
scares
as part of these broader negotiations with the Taliban.
Makes you wonder,
We
though.
certainly raise his case in every opportunity, and it has certainly been raised, but I don't have any update on that case.
And then you've said that there's a threat for these remaining days that U.S. troops are in Kabul. Are there any additional precautions that are being taken to protect these troops? Obviously, you're not going to send in additional troops, but are there any sort of other precautions that are being taken?
I don't think I'm going to get into operational details of what is happening on the ground. Certainly, there are steps taken to protect our troops on the ground by the commanders who are leading the efforts on the ground. Go ahead in the middle. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. Just last week, the president said the following. We made clear to the Taliban that any attack on our forces or disruption of operations at the airport will be met with swift and forceful response. Was this an attack? Were our forces targeted? Was this at the airport? Were our operations disrupted? And if indeed it was, would this qualify as a swift and forceful response?
It's awesome.
I think the president just addressed exactly that when he said, "We will not forgive, we will not forget, and we will hunt you down." When he spoke just an hour ago.
Bombers, people who live so that they can kill themselves?
He was referring to the attack of terrorists from ISIS-K who launched this attack and killed U.S. service members. I don't think he.
Going after them regardless of whether they attack service members.
I don't think he could have been more clear. Go ahead.
Yes, Jen. At least 67 House Democrats now have signed on to a letter asking the president to raise the refugee cap in fiscal year 2022 to at least 200,000. I think you're looking at about 125,000 right now. Is that something that the White House is willing to accept?
I have not talked to the president
Why
about the
not?
specific
We just
question.
let
What I
a
will
million
tell you is that
migrants
what we
cross the
are
border. Who
trying to
cares?
do is get our muscles working again, both in our systems and the incredible refugee groups that are working on welcoming refugees from around the country, and working on getting our vetting processes and systems around the world that need to be in good shape in order to welcome refugees, to get as many as we can. But I have not had a conversation with him about raising the cap beyond the 125. As you said, I'm happy to do that. Go ahead, Eli.
Given that Kabul has been the only departure point in the country, I wonder if the administration knows how many of the American citizens left, the green card holders, SIVs, that are in the country still, are outside of Kabul, and if there have been or may be in the future efforts to go out and rescue people from those more far-flung places.
No.
Yes. On your latter question, I'm not going to get into more details and will continue to be. On your former question, the vast majority are within the Kabul vicinity. But as the State Department provided an update a little bit earlier today, but I know there's been a lot happening today, so let me just reiterate a couple of these numbers. Of the 1,500 that they
we just want to know American
yesterday,
citizens. That's all we care
roughly
about. Just say that.
500 have been evacuated. And so we're talking about roughly an additional 1,000 that we believe remain in Afghanistan. The vast majority, over 2/3, informed us they were taking steps to leave, and we are in touch with. That is what we are working through and what we are focused on every.
Can you imagine still being stuck there and then that suicide bomb happened? And they're like, hey, yeah, come to Kabul airport.
If they have or haven't, I'm just going to convey to you. I'll leave that.
No.
What I will tell you is that we are committed
This is just chaos.
home and out of Afghanistan should they want to leave, and that includes people around the country. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Earlier today, General McKenzie said that right now they are focused on other active threats to U.S. service members there on the ground. Are all the threats the U.S. is currently facing from ISIS-K? Are there other groups that may be bad actors?
I'm just not going to detail additional information about ongoing live threats.
And do we know if the president still feels as though the chaos and the violence that we've seen there on the ground in Kabul was all unavoidable, even at this point?
You mean from about 11 days ago?
Yes.
Well, I would say, I've spoken to this a few times. If we go back to 11 days ago, if that is your specific question, we certainly didn't anticipate that the leadership, the Afghan government would leave in the manner, or would topple in the manner and the timeline that they did, or that the Afghan National Security Forces would cease to protect the airport and parts of Kabul. That is not what we anticipated in that timeline. That is true. What I will say and reiterate again is that within 24 to 48 hours, we had secured the airport, and since then we've evacuated more than 104,000 people. Go ahead.
How would you describe the relationship right now with the Taliban in light of the attack?
It is ridiculous that they don't know the exact number.
Security, what's their relationship right now?
Again, this is not a friendship or a relationship where there is trust. It's based on trust, but we are.
All right, guys, I got to go to work. I was hoping I was going to finish this whole thing. I'm sorry that it's not the whole thing. I promise to do it next time. But I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in to the show with me. You guys mean a lot to me. And thank you guys so much for joining. Subscribe if you're new. And let's keep this thing going. This is insane. Hopefully I'll get some videos coming out tomorrow and this weekend. I've been busy this week. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. And I appreciate you guys so much. Honestly, I do. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. And just a quick reminder, don't put your hope in politicians and them doing what you want them to do and being your everything, because they will just do exactly this. They don't care. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a fantastic day.